In studio for a special postseason edition of This Week in CAA Football presented by Geico. I'm Tim McDonald, joined by Rob Washburn. Rob, thank you for filling in.
Yeah, happy to be here, Tim. Not a problem at all. The final weekend of the regular season saw a handful of upsets across the league, but the headliners had to be James Madison clinching the automatic bid and the title, and Stony Brook beating Maine on a Hail Mary as time expired, and 4 teams hearing their names called on Selection Sunday for a 4th straight season.
Number 1, James Madison completed that unbeaten regular season with a 31-3 win at Elon. The Dukes are the first team since 1984 to capture 3 straight CAA titles, and the first since UMass in 1977 to go undefeated in conference play in back-to-back seasons, as if we didn't know how impressive that streak was already. Yeah. Brian Short led all players in that game, 76 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, while JMU grabbed the number 1 seed, no doubt there, across the board for the FCS playoffs for the second time in program history and earned a first-round bye. Obviously, we might not talk about the Dukes today, but we know they're sitting there waiting for their next opponent. The play seen around the entire country in 2017, social media, it's going to be everywhere. Stony Brook improved to 7-1 in league play and battled back from a 19-6 fourth quarter deficit. That wasn't just the last play. They were down 19-6 in that game. Joe Carbone to Harrison Jackson, 35 yards out, secured the amazing and crazy, absolutely crazy. Sometimes it's just your year. That's the way it works sometimes. Elsewhere around the conference, UAlbany and Villanova upset New Hampshire and Delaware respectively. Dominating performances, not just a couple of field goals. That was an impressive win for both of those teams to upset. Towson and Ryan Stover outlasted Rhodey to end the year with 3 wins in their final 4 games, and Richmond retained the Capital Cup with a solid 27-20 victory over William & Mary. Kind of concluding a crazy Saturday, but as if Saturday's results weren't crazy enough and weren't, okay, well, what else you got for us? Selection Sunday saw 4 teams selected, as you said, for the FCS playoffs, with 3 teams staying home this coming weekend for first-round games. Obviously good at home in the playoffs to have that many teams stay home, but all the first and second round games, let's remember, will also be carried on ESPN3 and the Watch ESPN app for the second straight year, so people should be set.
What a way to finish the season. Yeah. Now looking ahead to Saturday and past Thanksgiving, with 3 CAA football teams opening playoff action starting at 1 o'clock in North Carolina, as Elon makes its 2nd playoff appearance all time for a rare rematch of the regular season versus Furman out of the Southern Conference.
I mean, you got to love the playoff gods scheduling Furman. Not only a rematch, but former SoCon rivals. The old, it's never easy to beat the same team twice in one season. That saying comes to play right away with the Phoenix. And welcoming Furman to town, this is a rematch. This is week 2. Elon traveled to Furman, pulled out that last-second win. Owen Johnson kicked a game-winning field goal as time expired for the 34-31 win. Started an 8-game winning streak. Elon, we weren't sure how the Phoenix were going to look. That grabbed the momentum. Furman, we'll get into it, but Furman also kind of had their own little streak here to end the season. Obviously, things have changed greatly for both teams since that first meeting. The Phoenix have adapted offensively under CAA football, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Davis Cheek, despite entering Saturday right now, kind of searching for some quick answers. Back-to-back losses to end the regular season. It will be the first ever home playoff game at the FCS level for Elon, and his first playoff game, as mentioned, since 2009. That was at Richmond, a close loss in 2009, but it just goes to show you how much progress this program has made in 1 year, and you have to get the run game back on track. Simple and straightforward. That's the answer for the Phoenix against Furman. The Phoenix have been held the last 2 games to less than 100 yards twice all season, by the way. Both have come in those last 2 games to end the regular season. Balance on that side of the ball makes life easier, makes things smoother for Davis Cheek and his weapons on the outside. We also saw Cortez Weeks was named to the All-CAA, but to get those guys involved, you have to have some balance. And Furman started 0-3, went on a 7-game winning streak before losing last weekend at Sanford. The Paladins average over 240 yards per game on the ground and have scored 34 total touchdowns on the ground as well this year. So you know where you need to start on defense if you're Elon. With all the emotions, all the getting over the humps, we know that Elon, where they picked in the preseason, all those things, playing at home helps at this time of the year that much more. We're not sure about the crowd, but at the same time, just being in a familiar setting helps. The winner of this game advances to face number 17, Wofford, on the road next weekend. And fittingly, of course, Furman and Wofford once were rivals with the Phoenix in the SoCon before the Phoenix joined the CAA. So, again, FCS parity, it's always there.
Yeah, regardless of what happened, what a year by Elon and what a turnaround story.
Yep.
At 2 o'clock, a pair of first-round games take place, starting with New Hampshire hosting NEC champion Central Connecticut State in Durham. Tim, the Wildcats opens postseason play at home for the 5th straight year, but have never played a member of the Northeast Conference in the playoffs.
That's right, and everyone wants to start with UNH making its 14th appearance, and I'll join the bandwagon with you, because just to think about that, the 14th straight appearance, how remarkable it is, but at the same time, that's the national high across the FCS. North Dakota State is second with 8 now, so it goes to show you the craziness of that streak. Ultimately, New Hampshire's win over FBS Georgia Southern, that's still an FBS win. I think that ultimately came down to the win over Georgia Southern and handing Elon its first FCS loss of the season 2 weeks ago. That was ultimately, to me, what helped the Wildcats get in over some other bubble teams. And you could make arguments across the board, but at the end of the day, an FBS win has carried a lot of weight and passed. And you look no matter how things played out, I think they'll take it to be in this spot, to be back in the playoffs. In that 15-0 loss at UAlbany, UNH struggled to find any rhythm, struggled to find any consistency on offense. Negative rushing yards, 122 total yards of offense. You kind of get a new life now, all of a sudden in postseason play. Things need to change quickly in order to get past and move forward. Neil O'Connor enters with 87 catches on the season, a CAA best 117 yards per game. So Central Connecticut State is going to be in for a long day, possibly. He's third all-time on the program charts for single-season catches and needs 13 to tie the all-time record, which was set by R.J. Harris a couple years back. My eyes will be on the offensive line, protecting Trevor Knight, trying to create lanes. Because right now, if you really look at it, Evan Gray and Deontay Chapman, those are pretty much the only two guys being asked to carry the load. And things are going to need to change up front, especially, to make things easier for that offense. Central Connecticut State announced really recently, that its starting quarterback was suspended for this one. Clearly a big blow for a team making its first playoff appearance. The Blue Devils won the NEC with a perfect 6-0 record after riding an 8-game winning streak since starting the year 0-3. So you've seen the streaks kind of all over the board in the playoffs. A lot like years past, New Hampshire always plays well at home. Obviously, they've won 56 games there since 2007, a place where it hasn't lost at all in 2017, 5-0, and it will look to get out of the gates quickly on offense. I think that's what you have to watch right away.
Yeah, always good to be at home, 5-0 at home, a team that they're familiar with. So.
Exactly. They played 2 years ago. Good point.
Also at 1 o'clock, Stony Brook returns to the playoffs for the first time since 2012 and hosts Lehigh on Long Island. Picked 8th in the preseason poll, the Seawolves finished the regular season in the conference with a 7-1 record and own a 9-2 mark overall heading in.
A heck of a job by Chuck Priori and his staff this fall. Not just getting back to the playoffs, not just breaking that push, but finishing with one loss in CAA play. If you look at the standings at the end of the regular season, Stony Brook is technically the second-place team in CAA football at 9-2. Joe Carbone not only provided the drama and the heroics with that Hail Mary touchdown pass, but he also kept his streak, which I think is even greater. Kept his streak of throwing 2 touchdowns in a game for the 6th straight week. 12 scores versus 1 pick during that stretch, by the way. And his play, I've talked about it so many times, but his play this season has dramatically increased the offensive production. The Seawolves already won their most games in a single season since that last playoff trip in 2012 and host a Lehigh team that won the Patriot League title with a 5-1 record. Despite, I know a lot of fans were looking at the bracket. How did Lehigh get in with a 5-6 record overall? That's their overall record. You win your conference, you get in. So Lehigh did its job in conference play. From a stats standpoint, Lehigh averages 476 yards of offense, 36 points, and also has the FCS total rushing yards leader in Dominic Bragalone. But a second look at the Mountain Hawks, also you see 39 points allowed. You see over 460 yards a game allowed on defense. 59 total touchdowns have been scored on Lehigh this year. Obviously, we saw earlier in the season Villanova played Lehigh, put up a lot of points. At the same time, Stony Brook is going to be tested on defense, and that's going to happen at some point in the postseason play. And regardless of what it looks like, your opponent, you know you're going to be tested. You know you might not have the familiarity with these teams. Simple fact that the Seawolves stay at home at LaValle Stadium is going to be a huge impact and have for them to have such a remarkable year so far, it's going to play a larger role than ever to stay at home outside of the stat sheets, outside of how many points are scored per game, all that stuff. By the way, the winner of this one advances to number 1 seed JMU in Harrisonburg, and that's next Saturday at 2 o'clock. So the Seawolves, they didn't play during the regular season. You know, if they can get by this one, it's only going to set up a remarkable match.
Yeah, that could be a fun one. And it's good to see Stony Brook back in the playoffs. They've had some history there, and first time since they've been in CAA football that they've gotten there. You can find live stream and live stat links for the first round of the FCS playoffs by visiting cafootball.com. And I know you can tell us, Tim, how to stay up to date on social media as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Washburn. You guys can follow CAA Football on social throughout the week, really. If you want to start now, that's fine too. Just search CAA Football on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Remembering, as always, to join the conversation by using the hashtag CAAFB. It's playoff time. You got to use the hashtag FCS playoffs as well if you want to.
That's all we have today. Leading into the first round of the FCS playoffs. Have a safe and happy holiday and enjoy the games, everybody.